There was a night when you sat alone in the dark, and you didn't cry because you were weak. You cried because you had been strong for too long, for too many people, for too many days in a row. And no one ever asked if you were okay. You smiled in the morning. You answered, "I'm fine," without even thinking about it. You carried the weight of your family, your job, your failures, your image, and you carried it so well that people forgot you were carrying anything at all. But at night, when the noise stopped, when the phone went dark, you felt it, that hollow space in your chest, that question you never say out loud: is this ever going to get easier? 2,000 years ago, a slave named Epictetus sat in chains, and somehow he wrote words that free men today still can't live by. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." He didn't have his freedom. He didn't have comfort. But he had something you forgot you still have: his mind, the one thing they could never put in chains. You think your pain is unusual. It's not. You think your exhaustion makes you broken. It doesn't. What you're feeling, the heaviness, the silence, the slow erosion of hope, that is not the end of your story. That is the beginning of every person who ever became unbreakable. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on earth, emperor of Rome, wrote in his private journal at night, not commands, not victories, but reminders to himself, because even he had to fight his own mind every single day. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This video isn't going to tell you to stay positive. It's not going to give you a slogan. This is going to walk you through the exact 5 truths that turn a person who is breaking into a person who cannot be broken. Truths that ancient men whispered to themselves in cold rooms, on battlefields, in exile, in chains, because they understood something most people never learn until it's too late. The world will hit you, again and again. But the mind, your mind, when it is mastered, becomes the one thing this world can never touch. So sit with this. Don't scroll past it, because what I'm about to say, you've already lived it. You just didn't have the words for it, until now. Drop this in the comments. I am unshaken. Now, let's begin. Number 1, the mask. You've gotten so good at it. The mask, the "I'm okay." The laugh that comes a half second too fast. The "it's fine" you say while something inside you is quietly falling apart. You wake up, and before your feet even hit the floor, you're already performing. For your family, who needs you steady. For your co-workers, who need you capable. For your friends, who need you to be the one who has it together. Because if you don't have it together, who does? Nobody claps for the version of you that holds the world up. Nobody sees the 2 a.m. thoughts, the silent tears in the shower where the water hides the sound, the way you sit in your car for an extra 5 minutes before walking inside because you need one more second before the performance starts again. This is the loneliest kind of pain, the kind no one knows exists because you've hidden it so well. Seneca understood this exhaustion. He wrote to a friend who was drowning in obligation and pretending, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." He wasn't telling you to stop feeling. He was telling you to stop performing the feeling for everyone else's comfort. Stop bleeding quietly so others don't have to see the wound. Here's the truth that no one tells you. The mask isn't keeping you safe. It's keeping you trapped. Every day you perform fine, you bury the real version of yourself one layer deeper. And one day you wake up and you don't even remember who you were before the performance started. You were not born to carry a face that isn't yours. You were not built to be everyone's strength while no one is yours. The Stoics didn't believe in hiding pain. They believed in examining it, looking directly at it, the way you'd look at a wound before you treat it. Not flinching, not performing, just seeing it. So tonight, take the mask off, just for a moment, just for yourself. No one is watching. No one needs you to be fine right now. You are allowed to simply be tired, be human, be real, because the moment you stop performing strength is the moment you finally start building it. Number 2, the wound you don't show anyone. There's a version of pain that doesn't have a name. It's not the breakup. It's not the job loss. It's not even the diagnosis or the funeral. It's the quiet wound, the one from years ago that you never let heal, because healing it meant admitting it happened. Maybe it was the parent who never said, "I'm proud of you." Maybe it was the friend who disappeared the moment you needed them most. Maybe it was the years you spent trying to be enough for someone who never once looked at you like you already were. You don't talk about it, not because it doesn't hurt, but because you've convinced yourself that if you say it out loud, it becomes real again. So you bury it. You build your whole life on top of it, like a house built over a crack in the earth, hoping the foundation holds. Marcus Aurelius lost children, plural. He buried more than one. He ruled an empire while his own body and heart were breaking, and yet, in Meditations, he wrote almost gently to himself, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He wasn't saying the pain didn't matter. He was saying, the wound is not the end of the path. The wound is the path. The thing you're avoiding, the thing you've buried under years of silence, that is exactly where your strength is waiting to be excavated. You think you're the only one who carries something like this. You're not. Every person scrolling past this video right now is carrying their own version of your wound. Different shape, same weight, same silence. But here's what the Stoics knew, and what your wound has been trying to teach you all along. Pain that is faced becomes wisdom. Pain that is buried becomes a prison. You don't have to perform your healing for anyone, but you do have to stop pretending the wound isn't there if you ever want it to close. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to build from it. Number 3, the voice that lies to you. There's a voice that lives inside your head, and it has studied you longer than anyone else on this earth. It knows your exact weaknesses. It knows precisely when to speak. It waits until you're tired, until you're alone, until you've already had a hard day. And then it whispers the thing that breaks you a little more. You're not good enough. You always do this. They're going to leave too. What's even the point? You didn't choose this voice. You inherited it from a harsh word said too many times, from comparison, from a moment someone made you feel small and you never quite grew back to full size. And now it speaks in your voice, so you mistake its lies for your own truth. Epictetus, a man who lived his entire early life as property, owned by someone else, beaten and powerless, said something that should shake you to your spine. Man is disturbed not by events, but by his opinion about events. The voice in your head is not reporting facts. It is offering an opinion, dressed up to sound like truth. And you have been signing off on its verdicts without ever cross-examining the witness. How many decisions have you made? Small ones, big ones, because that voice told you not to try. How many times did you stay quiet, stay small, stay stuck, because it convinced you that you would fail before you even started? Here is the part nobody tells you. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices the thoughts. There is a space, small, quiet, but undeniably yours, between the voice and your reaction to it. The Stoics called this the seat of judgment, the place where you decide what gets power over you and what doesn't. That voice will keep talking. It will not go silent because you ask it nicely, but it loses its grip the moment you stop obeying it like a command and start examining it like a liar in an interrogation room. Is this true? Or is this just old pain talking in my own voice? You've spent years letting that voice run the show. Tonight, you start asking it for evidence. And when it has none, and it never does, you stop listening like a prisoner, and you start speaking back like the one actually in control. Number 4, the room where you rebuild yourself. There is a kind of loneliness that looks like punishment, but is actually preparation. The friends who stopped calling, the relationship that ended, the silence after everyone walked away when you needed them to stay. You called it abandonment, but some of the strongest people who ever lived would call it something else, a forge. Every blade that has ever held its edge was shaped in fire, alone, away from comfort. No one becomes unbreakable in a crowd. No one finds their spine in a room full of noise. Strength, real strength, is built in solitude, in the quiet you've been trying so hard to escape. The Stoics didn't fear isolation. They sought it. Seneca, exiled from Rome, stripped of status, stripped of comfort, used that very exile to write some of the deepest wisdom in human history. He wasn't broken by being alone. He was forged by it. He wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." You've been treating your empty room, your quiet nights, your unanswered messages as evidence that you are unwanted. What if, instead, this is the universe clearing every distraction out of your way, so you finally have no choice but to face yourself? This is the room nobody warns you about. The one where you sit with no one to perform for, no one to distract you, no noise to drown out the truth. And in that silence, for the first time, you hear yourself clearly. Not the mask, not the lying voice. You. This room is uncomfortable because it's honest. It strips away every illusion you use to numb yourself, the validation, the distraction, the constant noise, and leaves you standing in front of the only person who has been with you since the day you were born, yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote his private reflections not in a palace surrounded by applause, but alone, by candlelight, at the edge of exhaustion. He rebuilt his resolve in silence, night after night, because he knew something you are about to learn. You are not falling apart in that room. You are being put back together, correctly this time, on your own terms, by your own hands. Number 5, the one who cannot be moved. There is a version of you on the other side of all this, quiet, steady, unshaken, not because life got easier, but because you got harder to break. He doesn't flinch when the world tries to provoke him. She doesn't beg for approval she once would have bled for. They have already survived the version of pain that used to end them. This is not arrogance. This is not coldness. This is what the Stoics called apatheia, not the absence of feeling, but freedom from being ruled by feeling. The storm still comes, but you are no longer the leaf being thrown by the wind. You are the mountain the wind breaks against. Marcus Aurelius stood at the edge of war, disease, betrayal, and loss, emperor of the known world. And still he reminded himself, every single morning before the chaos began, you have power over your mind, not outside events. He said it not because it came naturally. He said it because he had to fight for it daily. the same way you are fighting for it right now. You have already survived the night you thought would end you. You have already carried weight that should have crushed someone weaker. You have already stood in rooms where everyone expected you to fall apart, and somehow you didn't. So, why do you still flinch at the next storm? Why do you still brace as if you haven't already proven, again and again, that you are built for this? The mask is gone. The wound has been faced. The lying voice has lost its grip. The silence has done its work. What's left is the version of you that nothing, not rejection, not failure, not fear, not loss, can move from where you stand. This is not the end of your struggle. New storms will come, but you will not be the same person they hit. You will be the one who stands, calm, steady, unshaken, while the world spins around you like it always has. You came into this video carrying something heavy. Maybe you didn't even have words for it, just a tiredness in your chest, a question you've stopped asking out loud. Why does it feel like this? Why does it feel like the world keeps testing the same wound over and over? Here's what you now know, that you didn't know before. The mask you wore was never your strength. It was your exhaustion in disguise. The wound you buried was never weakness. It was the exact place your power had been hiding. The voice that lied to you was never the truth, only an opinion you mistook for fact. The silence you feared was never punishment. It was the forge. And the version of you waiting on the other side of all of it was never out of reach. Epictetus said it from chains. Seneca said it from exile. Marcus Aurelius said it from the weight of an empire crumbling around him. Different lives, different centuries, same truth, repeated for 2,000 years because every generation needs to hear it again. It is not what happens to you, it is what you become because of it. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are in the forge, right now in this very moment, becoming the version of yourself that nothing can move. So stand up, take the mask off, face the wound, question the voice, sit in the silence, and walk forward as the one who cannot be shaken. Drop this in the comments. I master myself.